I'm getting ready to install this Jeep 4.0 head. It's a 7120. I'm going to put the thermostat and housing in place. This gives you great handhold when you're moving this 60-pound piece of cast iron around. So the new product on the gasket is this sticker, and it really makes things easy. And while I'm cleaning up, this is the product with the sticker. Let's see how easy this is to get off. When you install these, you're supposed to put a sealant on both sides of the gasket. But with this, that sticker is your sealant. And on this last installation, I didn't put any sealant here because this comes on and off so many times on this engine for overheating. Any overheat, your thermostat is going to open beyond these little tabs here and then stick open. And you have to replace it. Because of that, my mindset is make this as easy as possible when you're swapping out your thermostat. I haven't had any leaks. If I did, I'd probably reevaluate that. Look at how easy this product is to come back off. Wow. I am impressed with this. Look at that. I'm sold. I'm a believer. This is great. Okay, that adhesive remains. So you want to get that off of there and have it a nice metal surface when we start. I'm using some paint thinner on this. That cleaned up exceptionally well. This new gasket with the sticker is a winner. Okay, here's a thermostat that overheated and it's open. You can see light through there. Murray Temp Controls is the one you can get at the auto parts store. And this is the spring and temp bulb. This always goes toward the engine. This is the head, but the engine rule of thumb still applies. Then you can't get it backwards on this engine. See that? You'd have to try really hard to put this in backwards. If this housing were to leak, these two bolts are all that holds it on. Just take it back off and reseal it better. With the serpentine belt installed, you can just move the belt down and get some sockets on there and remove it. If you suspect a leak on here, sometimes it's not obvious where the water's coming from. And that's because our water pump sits right here. See that? And the stock water pump has this weep hole in here. So when this shaft bearing and seals fail, water comes out of this hole right here. See that? And where it's situated, and this water's spraying up here, it can look like your thermostat housing is leaking when in reality it's your water pump. Here's the other seal. Water could be breaching right here and spraying up. Let's look at water flow through this 4.0 head. The water pump is creating pressure with this impeller spinning, and that pressure enters the block. The water or coolant travels through the block, and it comes up through these two passages here at the end of the head. One, two. Each cylinder does get a small flow through these openings here, but the majority is coming up out of the block through these two openings. And then it comes down the head toward the thermostat. These other holes in the head were during the manufacturing process and the casting of this head with iron. These are to remove sand from the cast iron. Alright, so water that has extracted heat from this head gets to this point, and the thermostat is either going to be open or closed. If this is closed, there's a bypass port right here. Right there's our bypass. So while your engine's heating up, water still circulates, but it bypasses the radiator, goes through this bypass port, back into the block, and then it returns through this hole right here for recirculation. Let's take a look at that hole. Okay, I showed you the bypass hole in the head. It mounts up on the block right here, and that's just a little passage through the cast iron, returning it to here. Let's look at our gasket real quick. Okay, bolt hole, bolt hole, bolt hole, bolt hole. There's our passage for water to bypass the radiator. And it goes straight back to the water pump. Okay, when our water pump is turning, it's creating a suction, and this is the hole where it's getting return water from the block that bypassed the thermostat. If the thermostat is open, this is the port where it's getting conditioned water back from the radiator. This is now open. Heated water returns to the radiator for conditioning and then returns here. Then right next to this port, to get bypass fluid flow, we have the return from the heater core. So this suction is drawing water from the heater core, from the bypass hole in the block, and from the radiator. So it's through this opening in the thermostat housing where water is fed to the radiator. And it's through this opening that water is fed to the heater core. So in our head, that's what this opening is. This feeds hotter water to the heater core at all times. There's no valve here to stop that. It's always going to come through this hole, this opening. And this is out of a stroke or somebody increased the size of that. It enters this passage in the thermostat housing and then heads toward the heater. Water will always circulate between here and here because this is never blocked. But it can be blocked at the heater valve. And this is our heater control valve. It's vacuum operated to the closed position. So essentially it's fail safe. If you lose the vacuum, this opens and you have water flow through there. Your heater core can be a very important safety feature when you're having an overheat. You want to extract as much heat from as much coolant or water as you can as rapidly as possible. Another point of interest is coolant enters the bottom of the heater core and exits through the top. So fluid dynamics and pressure, when that's filled with liquid, pressure on this side is going to allow the water pressure to bring water out the top back. So that's different than the radiator. In the radiator, we're extracting heat. In this setup, we want to use that heat for creature comforts and keep people warm. So it kind of makes sense why that hole in the block is always allowing flow to the heater. Because somebody goes out, starts their car on a cold morning, they want that to warm up as rapidly as possible. Alright, so I'm going to use a little petroleum jelly here as a mastix to just hold this in place. Spring goes toward the engine. This new sticker, I can't tell you enough how much I love this. Once I'm able to get it removed. So the last thing to really talk about on this is the fan switch, which is located in the passage that allows water to go to the heater core. So water is always allowed to flow through this opening here. So this fan switch will always be able to monitor the temperature of the water in the head. And if it gets too hot, it's going to turn the electric fan on. So it kind of makes sense now why that's there. If this were to fail in the closed position, you wouldn't be able to monitor the temperature if this was closed. You'd have to have this installed somewhere else. The torque on these bolts is 15 foot-pounds. Definitely tighten these down just like you'd torque a tire or your head. Get them close until you go to your final 15. I've stripped out more cast iron putting on goosenecks than anything else. Okay, that's it.